coming. Really appreciate you taking your time out of your day. We know how time short we all are, so really appreciate, we know how hard it is to get people here. So thank you. I also like to thank all our manufacturer partners for supporting us. There's been a massive support from all our manufacturers the last 2 weeks, helping us refurb the whole building, and also I think the vast majority of our manufacturer partners have got people here today so you can talk directly to them, which is the whole aim of the day. If you haven't been to one of these Techfests, I think this is the 3rd year we've done it, the format, we've had good feedback on the format, so we thought we'd keep it the same. So we've got 3 seminars, hence why you've got a badge each. We've got 3 different seminars, and the whole idea is we've kept it small because you can only get about 15 people in each seminar, and the idea is you rotate. So the seminars last about 20 minutes to half an hour, apart from Timmy's, which takes about 40. But it's great. I sat in on Timmy's yesterday, it was really good. So the idea is we do a seminar, and then you've got about 20 minutes, half an hour. We ran late yesterday as usual because I didn't shut up. And you come down, you can talk to the manufacturers about different products, etc. I'll ring the bell again, and then if you could go to the next seminar that you haven't been to, we'll tell you where to go, and then another half an hour break or 20 minutes, then the next seminar, and then we break for lunch. And there'll be lunch, and again you can talk. So very informal, but if you could try and get to your seminars reasonably on time so that the people can crack on.
$4.5 million malware attacks stopped by a WatchGuard. And just that you all know what malware is, you will hear it banded around. So malware is basically software written maliciously. So it's not a program doing something for you, it's basically go in and take all your computers, scan your computer doing it. So it's malicious software. What's quite interesting in this malicious software is this bit here, where they go. You can kind of see their places to get attacked, and it varies quite a lot, but the UK consistently seems to be in the top 3 of attacks. Yesterday, it was was it Italy?
It was Italy, again, it changed this morning then.
Yeah, it was Italy this morning, and you can see that's 43% of all malware attacks happening in Italy. 3 days ago, it was in Norway. It had 80% of all malware attack that they were finding was actually happening in Norway. That could be because of a phishing scam, emails going around and doing it. So it's really down to where they've tracked, where the worms are spreading, wherever someone is trying to attack, or they might find an opportunity or something that's very going on up there. One of the things that is, that's a long way down, is this. So do you all know what 0 day is? Unknown malware. Things that no one knows about. So the way WatchGuard and other cybersecurity products picks up this, they're basically using machine learning. They're looking at the products and to see how it behaves. Is it encrypting files? Is it scanning files? They're going, that's an Excel spreadsheet. That shouldn't be scanning files, all the other files for information. That's they can see this behaving badly, that they blocked them. But 73% of the malware that it blocks, we don't know about. And that's the malware that comes out from all of these lovely £600 billion industry of people that's trying to get in your information. Okay, and just give you a bit of information, it's kind of 2 halves. It's half of it's protecting your own businesses, the other half is the customers you look after, because we obviously, our industry is very much centred about the high net individuals, and they tend to be more at a risk for this when we're going to talk about some of the things they like to employ, or in your own businesses. So, as I said, we've got the people that we call the vandals of the internet, which is basically people that stop things working. You know, basically stop your computer working, like you used to get viruses and you couldn't use your PC. Nothing happened, it's just really annoying, you couldn't get on with it. The big thing, obviously, that's changed massively since me and Justin really started looking this 3 years ago, is this side of it. I assume you all heard of ransomware, it's kind of everywhere doing it, that's a big part of it, but ransomware doesn't actually make that much money, because there's very few people saying, oh, you encrypted my files, I'm going to give you $10,000 on an account I don't know about, and then you're going to give me the key. Probably doesn't going to happen, is it? So what ransomware they actually do, what the banking industry is doing, you don't need to have any crime reference number, you need to have no insurance, you have nothing, you just phone the bank and they go, right, after a couple of questions, they go, yeah, alright, here, get your money back. Because they need you to trust the banking system, and we all need to. But that's why this industry is so big, because they're scamming it and they're getting cleverer and cleverer and cleverer to you. And they're going, you know all the other people in the room, but I don't want to go directly to you because you've got a lot of security. So what they're doing, they find out, you know Jay. Well, right, from JJ, but no Jay. And they get into him via LinkedIn. Well, says, hi Jonathan, good to see you the other week. We're speaking to Julie, does you know Julie's our credit controller, speaking to Julie about can we get some more credit with you. She asked me to send you our latest file, the latest accounts. Can you have a look at them to see if we can increase our credit limit? All the best, malware in there. There's nothing in it. It's sent, basically his email address has got hacked, and they send it as from their email address. It's not sent from somewhere else. The other one that's been going, we had was say we had the decorators in, and they were painting downstairs, and with the builders, he would start telling me that his email address had got hacked. And then Lizzie comes down, our financial controller come down as well, saying, is it alright we pay Ryan his money? And he go, what do you mean? I haven't sent you any emails. And Lizzie got an email that day from his email address and saying, hi Lizzie, been speaking to Timmy or Jonathan about the work, can you just pay the outstanding invoice before I do the rest of the work next week as agreed? And she doesn't check this, and there's a different sort code, there's an account numbers are doing it. And what they're doing with this, a lot of CEOs as well, they're trying to do it the other way, when they get the finance director or director, I do send Lizzie an email, say Lizzie, can you pay this hotel deposit for the event? She never checks that, she doesn't check that there's their sort code, there's account number, that could be £500. You go on the companies you work with, they pay the bill for £40,000, because no one picked it up. So it's that elaborate what they do. So it's they're getting clever and clever on what they do, and so they start doing now as well. They start backing up with phone calls. So we had one that phoned it up, was saying, "Oh yeah, this me, you know, have you seen the email I sent you?" Well, luckily, obviously, you know, with most people they try that. We had people with BT thing where they were sending emails directly to houses, and saying, "We're going to cut it off." And they thought, "I was from BT. You received our emails. We're going to cut it off." Yes. Oh, well, what we do now, what we can do, if you just pay us the money now, we'll da 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 da. So it's that elaborate what they get to now. So this is from Alex's house on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
And that's just showing you what happened into his house and what he was actually trying to get into it. There was, what, how many, is that millions? How is that? 200 about?
So 250 million scans going into my house. Out of that, 188 were detected as being known events or known malicious content. Out of malware, we had 45,000 scans of files being downloaded effectively, or packets coming into my firewall. 6 of those were detected as being malicious malware. And then, out of the 32 million that we scanned of different files coming in, or packets, we detected that 820 of those were botnets. And a botnet is basically where it's a device, or rather software, that will come onto your devices and make them do something else, trying to take down a website by just sending it lots of traffic. So CCTV cameras are quite prevalent for that because they're considered low devices, they're easier to break into because normally the security is a lot weaker. So what a lot of people do is actually don't let the cameras get to the internet, just let the MVR get to the internet.
So had a lot of those guys where they're breaking their source code, and those of you who've seen before, Justin and I have been using something called Showden to show you can go on, find products, find their source code, get into it and break into it. And then what they tend to install is that botnet, where basically they take over your device to do Bitcoin. So I don't know if you actually know how Bitcoining works, but you need to mine Bitcoin. Justin, who is our technical director, he's been living with the unit for over a year in his house. That's how long we've been trialing it. And he's got 3 kids. He got all technology under the sun you can imagine a tech buff would like. All the IoT bits you can find on the internet that he keeps buying and trying to use for some reason that I have no interest in, but he does it, he loves these things. And he's been using the T35 unit. So the units goes up in how many devices you need in the house. But don't kind of think of it that the T35 can only have 20 devices. It's not all devices connected to the product, to the services. It's the products that you want to get into the internet. So take an NVR for it, as a CCTV, you've got 8 CCTV cameras. You only need the NVR to go to the internet. You don't need the cameras to go to the internet. And that's a good thing as well, because if your cameras want to go to the internet, something's wrong. That's traditionally when they've got botnets on them, they're actually trying to behave maliciously. So we've got to go through the training courses on how to set the boxes. But the boxes goes up in value, which is absolutely fine, because to say to the customer, it's not my fault, Mr. Customer, you live in a very, very big house in Wentwood Estate that's worth 15 million and you've got 15 staff, and you cannot use the T15 box because you have so many devices. That's reality. The same thing with cars. So it goes up to the amount of devices, and we will work with you. Come if you're interested in it, come to us and we will actually scale you the right box. The T15 box is really there more for a test unit for you guys to buy. So if you want to try it into your own offices, have it, is take the unit with you, plug it in line with the router, and then do exactly what Alex did for Christmas Day. Leave it for a week, and you can see this is how many malware you've let through in, this is how much botnets attacks to come into you, so they can see what's actually going on.
How many events, so obviously Timmy showed you the website at the beginning, you actually look at their individual files and go, hang on this day, for the last 30 days, here's what's happened on your network. So instead of it just being a box that sits there and go, well, what's it actually doing? They can actually look like they can with your Ruckus installations and see, well, actually, here's how my file is doing, here's what it's protecting me against. Okay, that's why I actually need to use you guys because I trust you, and your box is doing exactly what you said it is. It's protecting me against all these attacks that you told me about in the very beginning.
So if you want to know more about it, Alex is going to be downstairs, the other Alex downstairs, I'm downstairs. Come and talk to us, we show it to you. The training courses, the cybersecurity training course is going to be end of January, start running, so if you're interested in them, speak with your sales guys to get you signed up to them. And we're also going to run some new cinema training courses. Josh is going to start running some more network training courses, more in depth about higher networks you need to do with 10 gig. And we've got some new direct root correction training courses happening as well.
One of the reasons that 10G isn't talked about very much in our industry is because there aren't actually very many vendors that do it or support it. But it's something that's becoming very, very important. It's something that we've put an awful lot of focus on to make sure that we can provide you with the right equipment to back up the stuff you're installing. So let's get ready for 10G. We live in a 1 gigabit world. For the last 8 years, certainly when I joined this business 8 years ago, like every other distributor in this industry, there was very little networking. In fact, what we sold, our biggest selling line item at the time, was a 6-zone, 6-source audio system. So, for more than 10 years, we've been relying on Category 5 and Category 6 and 1 gigabit products like 24-port switches to distribute media and control around people's homes. And more over the last few years, we've been focusing on things like security, where we need to actually segregate networks to make sure that they have the right level of security, that the chance of them getting hacked is reduced. This is one of the reasons, as you go to the next seminars, you'll start to see why we've taken a very strong partnership with WatchGuard. So we live in a 1 gig world, but we need to think 10 gig, because what we're doing is we're putting systems into our customers that they want to believe are future-proof, and there is a massive, massive change that you're going to see during this presentation. This table charts broadband speeds between 2007 and 2017, and you'll see by 2015, although it wasn't widely available, 1 gigabit internet was available in the UK. Step-on's 2017, 2 gigabit was available. Broadband speeds are rapidly rising, and even with a 1 gigabit per second internet connection, you actually need more than a 1 gigabit infrastructure in the home to be able to deliver that throughout the home. The internet isn't the exclusive content on your network. there's control, there's media from devices, there's streaming over Wi-Fi. There's lots and lots of things that are adding up over that internet connection, which means we need to put in a bigger infrastructure. So faster broadband's coming. I talked about 1 gig and 2 gig networks. This logo is trademarked by an organisation that represents distribution of 10 gigabit internet into homes across the world. To keep up with demands, ISPs are investing in new technologies. So if you look at Virgin, they're investing in DOCSIS 3.1, which has the capability of delivering 10 gig over their existing infrastructure. There's G-Fast Fibre, which is kind of the next revolution, if you like, in fibre, that has high bandwidth capabilities. And there are already fibre to the home and premises services that are increasing in the amount of data that they can provide. Satellites are expensive to put in the sky. That's why 10 years ago Sky Television launched their ISP service, because they had the foresight to realise that actually it's easier to send television programming over the internet. Now, back in the day, they were probably thinking of some clever multicasting service that might provide that stuff through a cable to a box. But in fact, our viewing habits have completely changed. When was the last time you actually set your watch and said, right, at 9 o'clock I'm going to watch this? Not very often, is it? We naturally now go to streaming services to provide that data. The introduction of 3 new streaming services, all of them 4K UHD. Disney Plus launched on the 24th of March, BritBox launched last November, Apple TV launched last November. And there's no let up in that. There are more and more services coming. Every one of those services is bringing a different stream of information. This isn't coming in on one unified platform, it's coming in from different CDNs, through your routing equipment, through your network, to your customers' devices. If we take a look, and one of the reasons I'm giving you a copy of this presentation is, unless you have enormously good eyesight, you won't be able to read this. This bar chart represents the most popular OTT services in the UK and the bandwidths that they take per stream. So on average, we're going between 25 megabits and 45 megabits per second for a 4K UHD stream off any of the major providers. And the clear reason for that is that actually, if you take something like the HD-based T model, it's not really compatible with the change in thinking that's kind of subliminally happened to us over the last year. If you go back perhaps 3 years, you might get a Blu-ray player, an Apple TV, 2 Skyboxes, put them on a matrix, and send those sources out to other rooms. So the pattern of 4x4, 6x6, 8x8 kind of works. Onto Wi-Fi. One of the popular misconceptions about Wi-Fi and how it works, and I'm sorry if I'm teaching you to suck eggs, is actually how network bandwidth is distributed between clients on Wi-Fi. Part of this is due to the marketing by major ISPs and router vendors saying, we've got this router and it does these amazing things, and you only need one of them. Just stick one access point, it's going to be fine, even though that doesn't work. So let me just very quickly explain how Wi-Fi works and the evolution of Wi-Fi, and actually where we do now need to think beyond the 1 gigabit barrier. So historically, Wi-Fi has always worked in a half duplex mode. So on my clock with one hand, if I have a device here, what happens is the Wi-Fi access point gets a request from the device, it's half duplex by the way, and then it sends data back to the device. If I have 2 devices here, then that happens, then it happens with the next device. You see, we think of radio as kind of something that's broadcasting and everything's picking up, and that's exactly how it doesn't work with Wi-Fi. MIMO is now called SU-MIMO, because there is now a MU-MIMO. I'll explain that in a minute.
Just like saying
Loving the acronyms today. One of the problems with SU-MIMO is that although it could put through more data, it could still only talk to one device at a time. Introducing MU-MIMO, our crazy clock, where it can actually talk to 2 or more devices at a time. So if we have a MU-MIMO 4.4 access point, i.e. it's got 4 TXs and 4 RXs, we can simultaneously talk to 2 MIMO to 2 devices. Phones, by the way, because of the processing power required to multiply the streams, will generally only be to 2 devices. A good example to use. two MIMO 2.2 devices. Enter last year, Huawei, Samsung, iPhone started using MIMO chipsets. But before then, if you were using a MIMO access point and you had, let's say, an iPhone 9, good luck, because you're not actually going to get any benefit of MIMO. It's still going to run in the SUMIMO cycle. Enter Wi-Fi 6, or what was called 802.11ax. And by the way, these new standards, what we refer to Wi-Fi by, is designed to make it easier for consumers. And Wi-Fi 6 has a whopping capability of 10 gigabits per second. But the big change here is that 802.11ax can actually deliver. AX actually works more efficiently with AC products, even though AC products are legacy. It does use MIMO. It also uses a technology called OFDMA, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, where it can actually take streams and start to space data for devices in different parts of that stream, and therefore simultaneously talk to other Wi-Fi 6 devices more efficiently. Why do we need faster Wi-Fi? That's why. That's what our houses look like. 5 years ago they didn't, but if you were to log into my house, there's no one in. On one access point there'll be at least 24 devices. AX, by the way, like AC, is completely backward compliant with everything, so it will still work with 802.11b devices. It's just loads more efficient and loads faster with new devices. If you've got one of those, go downstairs and log on to our Wi-Fi 6 and you'll see it will connect to 1200 megabits per second. So people have that expectation. They bought this phone. We had a guy the other day who just wanted the best. We did a Wi-Fi survey for his enormous place. There were 24 R750 access points going in. Ludicrous amount of money. But that's what he wanted the best. Another thing I've added to our product line is the media converter. So we have two Planet converters. One converts 1 gigabit and one converts 10 gigabits. So if you want to send fibre over a significant distance and then put it out as copper, this is the product you'd use. It's about the size of a cigarette packet. Wrapping up, we've got a lot of new training courses which I've got to write and run over the next year. Some of them will be 10 gigs, some of them will include aggregation, some of them will include security. So I encourage you to keep your eyes peeled on those. There's lots of those coming out. If you want to come along, we want to send your employees along.
Right guys, welcome. For those who don't know me, my name is Craig. I am the home cinema guru here for Happy Tech, and we are joined by the audio oracle, that is Steve from Wisdom, Steve Rutherford. So if you've got any questions, I can't answer them. Steve will definitely be able to answer them. We'll crack on. I don't want to do too much. Basically, we've got a quick presentation now. This is going to talk about what Steve and I come across basically through our training exercises and doing with Arcam and Wisdom, is we get the same questions asked all the time. Speaker placement, what speakers, what power, the room's an odd shape, how do I deal with this, how many subs do I need, are you sure I need that many subs? Yes, every time. We just found that there was a lot of standards that were out there that we all try and adhere to, best practice, hopefully. But most of the time, we're not actually looking at all the little things that can create the whole, some of the parts. So one of the main things we get asked consistently is which speakers for which room, which sounds easy, but when you start getting to this size room and up, the scalability of a lot of hi-fi speakers or other brands doesn't really cut it, and you'll find that you'll start breaking things, or amps will start shutting down or melting, or even horrible things like that happening. So how do we choose which is the right speaker? Well, obviously we want it to be good quality, we want it to sound great, but if we want to start doing proper cinemas and hitting proper SPL levels, if you want to do a Dolby Atmos, you're going to need to hit 105 dB, pretty much where you three are there. So the peak needs to hit that middle area. How do we know that the speakers that we're going to choose are going to give us the right quality and output level? So when we measure them, or when this industry standard measurement is from 1 meter to give us our sensitivity rating. So with this speaker, it's 86 dB, but it's a wall-mounted, baffle wall-mounted speaker, so we actually gain at least plus 3 dB by baffle wall mounting it. So all the energy is coming this way. There's no wasted energy going around. So you'll gain that at least plus 3, if not more. And we're actually looking for the SPL, the high SPL, the peak SPL, which is another plus 3 dB. So we're actually up to 1 watt fed into it at 1 meter. We will measure 92 dB on the speaker. 10 watts at 1 meter will then give you 102, so another 10. 100 watts, 112. And also is what really important is how much power that speaker can handle. If it can only handle 100 watts, it's going to melt if you're going to try and drive it with something more powerful. A point source, standard point source speaker will lose 6 dB per doubling of distance. We're only at 102. So no, we're not going to hit that. If we put that P4i here, we can't hit our SPO level that far away at 6 meters. But if we shorten the distance, we can actually then get them into for surrounds and surround backs, because we're shortening the distance. So we're actually then covering it. So 3 meters from the side channels we get 108, and at 4 meters from the surround backs we get 105. Good thing for us is that Wisdom make line source speakers as well. You're going to lose only 3 dB per doubling of distance, because we concentrate the energy. We're not coming out in a big hemisphere, it's actually coming out in a beam. So you only lose half the distance. So we start here with our L8i, which is the line source version, 1 meter, 117 dB. We're only down to 109.5, so massive, massive difference. Loads of more headroom in there. 3 dB from front to back. So we've got a really big sweet spot where everyone can hear those front 3 really comfortably over the distance. Compared to the point source, which dropped to 105, and then 99 on the back. So 6 dB loss from front to back, which is pretty big, seeing as 9 dB we perceive as half or double the sound. So it's a pretty big difference between there. So when you're doing point source cinemas, you have to be really careful about making sure that you're not deafening the front row and the back row is asking you to turn it up all the time. So loads more energy when we use line source, and ideally we'd use them on the sides and the surrounds as well, because then anyone on the left hand channel is going to hear that right hand speaker easier, and the same vice versa, and everyone gets a much more shared experience. So line source cinema is really the way to go if you can. So subwoofer, this is the big one. Steve and I would be very rich if we could answer, or got a quid for every answer we got up with the subwoofers. Choice, you've got supported regenerative transmission line or transmission line, sealed enclosures, bandpass filters, all do different effects, have different properties, different applications. But as long as they measure well and they do what they do, and we get them right, we can actually then make sure that they give us a nice smooth response up to our crossover point. This is your new best friend. This is Room EQ Wizard. If you haven't been on the RCAM and Wisdom training, you won't have seen this, but this is a free software that you can use to plan and plot subwoofer locations and where they need to go. So if we put one sub, whatever size, in a corner, whatever brand, we plonk it there, usually sit on a sofa, back third of the room, roughly, something like that, you get catastrophe. This is a measured output. This is basically no bass at all, apart from a little peak there, which is irrelevant, but that is no bass. So the only thing we can do, which you can do in the software, which is really cool, is grab the sub or grab the person and move them around. And as you do that, you'll see this change in real time to reflect the frequency response at that position. What's really fun is obviously without measuring for one person in the room, we've got to look at obviously multiple seating. So if we add more mic positions in, which you can do as part of this little table, we've got left and right, a seat in the front to represent the front row. Now we've got EQ for everybody. Even worse. This is about 30 or 40 dB swing between literally 75 centimeters.
Cinema design, you get the chance to move the seats. So you generally can't change the room size. That's something else that would help. But sometimes you can then bring these subs perhaps in these rear corners. It would work better. So, and you can see that straight away just by moving the subwoofers around on the screen. Changing the height of the subwoofers can also effect. Sometimes you can get this done really quickly and get very, very accurate results, and it's repeatable.
But the Cinematech panels are what rated down to 100 hertz, and that's low compared to, as far as I'm aware, nearly everything else that's out there.
Yes, yeah, for an 1.25 inch panel, yeah, it's crazy, yeah,
Down to
mental.
100 hertz.
And then you can just use, obviously, if you use this, you should, in theory, get a nice response.